Councilmember Schaefer?
What, originally we were 28 feet, correct? That was the original design.
If we go all the way back to the beginning, it was 30 feet. Then presented through work sessions was reduced to 28 feet. The project that was denied by Design Review Board in December was a 28-foot building. We appealed that denial, submitted drawings that included some of the items that while we were working with Design Review Board, we said we could do this, we can't do that. We submitted those drawings to council, which had a 26-foot building, uniform all the way around. The building now is 26 feet at its highest point, lowered down to 22 feet at portions around the perimeter of the Petaluma frontage and the entryway. So 30, 28, 26, and then 26 half, or 26 and 22.
What percentage is 22 feet?
According to him, it's about 25%. So Vice Mayor Kais is accurate that 75% is the 26.
And how tall is the Napa building across the street?
I don't have that information.
And this measurement is made by a laser device that architects have. It's 22 feet, what did I write here? 7 inches. At the street, and I believe the Napa building has a parapet, and then it has a hip roof that is beyond that you don't really perceive from the street.
And Friesel Enos is taller than that, I believe.
Yeah, Frizzolinos at the front, there are 38 8-inch concrete blocks. That's 28 feet. And then the truss roof portion goes up significantly higher than that you can see from the north. You cannot necessarily see that from Petaluma Avenue, but you're so close you're never going to see that from that angle anyway. So at Frizzolino, sort of at a minimum height is 38 feet. 38, 38. Oh, 28 feet, 38 blocks, you're right, I stand corrected. And that's that's 10 feet. So then it goes up at least, I would say, another 8 feet to the highest point beyond that. So perhaps up to 36, maybe 40 feet.
So I think this height of the building at 26, I remember in January, I talked to you, I said I thought it should be reduced when we first came. And I'm satisfied with this height because I think it does fit in between Friesel Enos and Napa. I think it fits, I think it works well.
Yeah, Kathleen, if you could just be sure to speak. Okay, thank you. All right, Councilmember Slater.
I can weigh in on the height a little bit. My feeling is that the height of this building is an appropriate height. The scale of this building, anything significantly reduced from where we are, we've lost an awful lot of the articulation that we've been asking for. So the scale of it seems appropriate, and it's not difficult to find buildings of similar proportions and scales, not only regionally but across the country, that people would point to and say that's a handsome old building. So I'm fine with the height.
Councilmember Green.
Well, here's what interests me. The building that you designed across the street, 130 Petaluma Avenue, is itself on a little pad of earth, the landscaping up to the building. And Craig Ballett, the owner, told me that that 3-story building at its highest is 32 feet. So we've got a 3-story building there. That's what he said from his drawings. What do you think it is then? He's wrong. I'm not going to tell him. You tell him.
Is he here?
Yeah. Hey, yeah, you are here. So how high is it? I mean, it's curious because in that lovely building we get 3 stories and a lot of office space for different people.
I would say from the grade level at the foundation up to the highest point of the 3rd story parapet wall is somewhere between 35 and 40 feet. I didn't put my laser to that one.
Again, we're talking about a building across the
Right,
street from the subject
right.
property. There might be a little confusion developing here. We're talking about the comparative heights of buildings in the neighborhood for Zellinos, the building designed by Mr. Slater across the street, the Napa building,
Well, it's
etc.
really interesting to me because you can compare this way, you know, to the neighbors, and I'm just comparing the other way. And, you know, what I find in that building is it's got a lot of grace, and it's providing office space. I think there are, 9 new businesses that were brought to town and 4 businesses that relocated within town to a nice office space. So, you know, what we have there is an example of smaller businesses in a denser format, you know, in a very lovely physical context. And I think that's the missed opportunity in this particular design. And it was a remark I made from the very beginning. There's so much more that could be done to bring in more opportunity for more than just these 2 businesses. And I'm very sorry that opportunity is just completely lost on us. You know, I think you made an earlier comment that the pedestrian plaza was about the same size as the bank building, and my thought there was, well, I think the bank building's too small. I mean, we have an opportunity for something dense and rich and lively that will populate our downtown, and what we're getting is a parking lot with these 2 structures, and you know, I don't find them particularly imaginative. And if we have to live with 1 business in such a big building, I think it would be appropriate, if it's not going to have multiple stories, to bring the height down. That's where I am on the 26-foot issue.
Well, my view on the height issue is it's maybe not so much a case of absolute height, but the variation in height, and there has been a response by the applicant that did result in some lowering of the height in some areas. The articulation, I guess, is the term of art for that. So I think, you know, one could look at many different buildings and you know, measure height and so on, but we're looking at this particular building and what has been done by the applicant in response to the prior findings. I think there's been substantial compliance by the applicant on that finding in terms of the applicant trying to respond to it. May not be a perfect response, but it's you know, definitely a response where the result is a somewhat lower height in places, and along with some articulation. Again, that's on the pharmacy building. The height of the bank building hasn't really been much of a topic of prior discussion, and I don't think it's in the findings previously, so I could be wrong in that, but I don't think that's really an issue this evening. It's the bank height.
I don't think so either.
Okay, so I think we've all talked about building height. Does anyone want to comment any further on that particular component before we talk about some other issues? Councilmember Slater?
Just for reference, the bank building is noted at 20 feet from grade to the highest point.
Okay, 20 feet. Okay. I think it's noteworthy, there has been quite a number of revisions done by the applicant, and so a lot of the prior findings, as we've sort of established going through this process of looking at each and every finding, a lot of them are moot. There has been quite a number of revisions done that really don't require further discussion, and having said that, though, there are some I think, significant unresolved aspects of the design, and we've heard different viewpoints on that. So unless somebody wants to jump in and offer some comments, I'm just going to try to get to the heart of one of the important matters here, and that's the question of the door. Should there be a door at the corner of Sebastopol Avenue and Petaluma Avenue? Should Councilmember Slater's recommendation that the door at the south end of the southwest corner of the property be moved 90 degrees so it faces out onto Petaluma Avenue? Should there be 2 doors, 1 door? As Councilmember Schaefer indicated, there's a concern about some people having to maybe walk too far to get to the door, things like that. So I'm suggesting we deliberate and discuss the door question and what our respective positions are on that. Who wants to comment? Vice Mayor Kais.
I think without the door on the corner that there's no access from Sebastopol Avenue, and that would be an exception to our design review guidelines. That's the appropriate location for anybody walking from anywhere else downtown, including the new Barlow project that we expect to have a lot of people doing grocery shopping, so it wouldn't be unusual to continue errands at a drugstore. So I feel very strongly about there needs to be a door in the front at the corner. That if 2 doors is unworkable inside, that then the door at the rear should be eliminated. If you look at West America, the bank, their parking is quite a distance from their front door, and I don't know if anybody doesn't go to West America Bank because the parking's too far away. So either they need to figure out 2 doors or put the door in the front.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Can you come up with a scenario where 2 doors would work?
I'd like to bring up Bill Berger from CVS Pharmacy, if that's acceptable to the council.
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thanks for taking the response there. The reason that the doors that Councilwoman Gurney mentioned earlier have gone from like the existing and the old longs from 2 to 1, there's a reason for that. The primary thing is that safety and security and convenience. There's a lot of theft in any store anywhere when there's more ways to get out. In stores such as ours, there's, at the end of the day, the 2 things that are really concerned are safety and liability. If you put a door at the end of this corner, or at the corner of this location, you have a lot of times with pharmacies, which is 75% of our business, what's called jump and runs. People will jump over the pharmacy counter, get their drugs, or steal drugs, and then head out the front door. In addition to what are normal occurrences with this, the normal cost of operating a business that had 1 or more than one door, you've got, in addition to the operating costs, the merchandise, the increased staffing, and the overall operation of the store being depleted, and the likelihood of success of that store going through, you have, in this case, people would jump over the pharmacy, which is where it's located on the corner of the building, head straight to the first door, and go out a very busy intersection. So it's extreme safety and liability issues at the end of the day. So putting a door at that corner is inadvisable. The other thing is that we build our business on convenience for the customer, and putting a door as close to where most of the customers, and unfortunately in this case, even though we want to promote, and we have promoted the pedestrian plaza to increase pedestrian use, most of the customers, I'd say 75% of pharmacy users, are going to be going to the store by a car. And they'll be parking in the parking lot, and Congresswoman Shavers mentioned earlier, a lot of these people will be in walkers or have trouble getting to the front door from that far away. So when we put the door where we put it, it was to do 2 things. One is to really address your finding that, okay, we want to put a plaza there, we want to make it more pedestrian friendly. The door, the parking, the plaza, all come into a cohesive unit. So at the end of the day, that really is the best place. And for us to make a door there that would be not usable at the corner, in addition to everything else I mentioned, it'd be much farther away from the convenient parking plaza that you all have recommended in your findings. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me offer a few thoughts of mine on the door question, further thoughts. I fully understand the operational concerns and how problematic it could be in that sort of crime scene scenario that was described to us. But I also want to observe that, the applicant, the development company, did make a conscious choice to situate this project in that particular location. And I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that in making that choice to situate that particular type of business operation there, there would have to be some sort of account taken of the fact that the existing guidelines and policies and values of the community do at least attempt to support the notion of pedestrian access and community connectivity, the relationship of that site to the downtown area. So it's a pretty deep question there. The concerns are not so much being expressed along the basis of infeasibility of design. I mean, clearly a door could be put there. It's all about the security of the operation. So it's a bit of we're weighing different kind of apples and oranges almost. We're looking for a design that relates to the downtown, the traditional downtown, that invites people to come in at that area. As Vice Mayor Kais has indicated, it's expected people will be patronizing on foot the new Barlow project. We have, for example, Screaming Mimi's diagonally across the street. We have many businesses in the neighborhood, and we want to encourage people to walk and ride bikes and not be in automobiles. It makes great sense to have a door that's convenient to the parking area. I don't see this as an either-or thing. I think if we were to require as a condition of approval that there be a door at the corner of Petaluma Avenue and Sebastopol Avenue, I don't know that I would also insist on a door being on Petaluma Avenue as recommended by Councilmember Slater. I think that's a very elegant idea. I like that in and of itself, but I would say I would throw out to the council the possibility of considering requiring a door at the corner of Petaluma Avenue and Sebastopol Avenue, and then the second door would be one maybe situated more close to the parking area, because clearly people will be arriving by car as well. So it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't have to be an either-or thing. It doesn't have to be one door only. But I'm having a hard time justifying not requiring a door at that key corner, because that is how that building, that structure relates to the town at large. That's my view. Vice Mayor Kais? Wait, let him respond. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
I just want to add one additional piece of information for your consideration. What Councilman Slater is suggesting is totally acceptable, because it would get the door literally on the street and on the sidewalk. But I did want to say about how we wanted pedestrian flow to go to the store. Now, it is true that the corner is attached to that big intersection. However, when we analyzed the kind of walk shed to the store, we found that most of the houses that are closest to that store are actually south of Bodega Highway, off in, I don't know what that neighborhood's called, but over by High Street and Ives Park and all that sort of stuff. And they're getting a little farther away when they get north of that street. So our idea was that there would actually be a larger amount of pedestrians, and it would be a little safer to use Burnett, and because that pedestrian crossing is actually a little nicer at that point. So as you come down Main Street, you use Burnett to get into the main door. So the location of the Burnett signalized crossing and where the people actually live, who we hope will walk rather than drive, our feeling was that that was the location, and that's also why we put that door right at the end of the street, at the end of Burnett.
I understand the rationale, and it makes sense insofar as it goes, but that corner does, as I indicated, it does relate to the traditional downtown, to where the plaza is. We've talked about the Barlow. We have what used to be the old lumber yard, which is now a tractor facility, and I think would not be surprising going forward in the future to have some kind of a new project proposed for that area. That's obviously pretty important real estate there. So that's just a hypothetical, but the community development, the commercial development of Sebastopol, I think is taking place to the north and to the west. It's not in that other direction. So I think there's a logic to, and I myself happen to live on the north side of the Day Gap, and there are a lot of people who live over there, probably half the town at least. So you could argue that either way. I understand the logic of what you're saying. Councilmember Schaefer?
Okay, then I'm next.
Could we take like a poll to see what each of us thinks about this?
Before we vote, I'd like to talk about it a lot more, because I have quite a lot to say about this.
I'm not voting yet. I'm
Before we
just
take a
getting
poll,
an idea.
I think there's a lot more to say about it. Actually, our walk shed is much bigger than that. This community is hoping that people will go from the Barlow and walk to Main Street, and that they'll go from, you know, GTOs and Frizolinos and walk all the way to the other side of the plaza, maybe even as far as Rite Aid. I mean, we're looking for a grid of a downtown that pedestrians can go out to all through the day and the evening that's safe and fun and lively, where we have somewhere, you know, that we can go and be together. So I think you have to keep that in mind. I mean, all of the Barlow is there, and it's going to provide a lot of activity that I would think you would want to capitalize on. I want to respond to Mr. Berger's comments about safety, liability, security, and convenience. All of his statements, in my mind, argued in favor of staying at Redwood Marketplace. It's sort of like, if that's what you want, stay there, put your drive-through there, and you'll be happy. I mean, that would be much easier to negotiate than all of this. And I want to share with you one email that I got from a person, and I have heard this message over and over again. I don't know if this is a man or a woman from the name, and I don't have authority to identify the person, but this is from someone who says, I live outside the city of Sebastopol. I'm writing to let you know that I like the Redwood Shopping Center with CVS, Lucky, Seb Hardware, it says, Fiesta, Auto Parts, and all the shops, ice cream and coffee store. I like the underlined parking, the underlined signal, and the dedicated left turn lane underlined. This is an easy, convenient area to get errands done. Please keep CVS where it is. If CVS needs a drive-through, possibly one could be built for them. Personally, I don't need a drive-through. I'll not be using CVS if they move into the hectic Highway 12-116 intersection. I enjoy walking around downtown, browsing the small shops on a nice afternoon or after brunch at East West Cafe with friends. But it's not a place I'll do errands because I need my errand running to be efficient. I think that moving CVS to the center of your cute artsy downtown would make the town ugly rather than beautify it. Please don't move CVS to the intersection. And I have received email after email with this sentiment, and I think if you make that conscious choice to come to our downtown, then you really need to fit in with our downtown. And that's what our design review board guidelines are about. That's what our general plan is about. And this building needs to be part of the downtown and not be suburban and not ignore our pedestrian and our main intersection by denying it a door. I mean, I really think you have to honor that conscious choice if you're going to come down here, or maybe we should have another conversation and put the drive-through up there. I mean, I'd be interested in that.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Well, I'm trying to view this. This is the applicant. These are this is what we asked them to do, and I'm trying to be fair about it. This is a business. They've made a decision, or whatever, to move to this location. So these are the things we've asked them to do. They've responded. So what I'm trying to do is figure out a way you know, as we all are, I'm sure, did they do this or did they not? I mean, we've all gotten a lot of emails saying and stating a lot of things, but the point is, what can we do and how are we going to decide about this door? So that was my reason. I'm really interested in hearing what the other council members think at this point about it. We've had a lot of discussion.
Vice Mayor Kais.
We received an email sometime back from, I forgot who exactly, that shows the identical floor plan for a store in Arizona that has doors on both sides. And that it's not really a safety issue or a liability issue, or you wouldn't have it in Arizona. What it is a cost issue. And that this location, it may be more costly to operate. I think that you're thinking it'll bring you more business, but this is part of a business expense to have that door. And I think the door needs to be.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, the second door is there on the page.
I'm going to admonish everyone here, anything we say it into the mic, no sotto voce between each other, okay? We can't hear it, all right? I would hope that when we're talking about cost and cost of operation, that having that door at that corner would actually be more profitable for the business operation. I think everyone, for different reasons perhaps, would love to see a successful business operation there that benefits everybody all around. And my hope, at least, would be that having that corner door would invite more pedestrian traffic and would certainly be consistent with the guidelines that have been described. My take on comments here, and I think we need to move forward to another profound issue, which is that Petaluma Avenue driveway or emergency access lane, but I'm sensing that there's probably majority support on the council for having a corner door at Petaluma Avenue and Sebastopol Avenue, but I think it's still somewhat unclear as to whether we want to have two doors or limit it to one door, or how we want to resolve that question. Vice Mayor Kais.
I think whether they have one door or two doors is up to them. But the first door needs to be on Petaluma on the corner.
Councilmember Gurney.
I'd like to see two doors, just because it seems consistent, and I imagine that you can figure out how to do that. Consistent in this way. The door on the corner conforms more with our downtown, and I think you have a concept that most people are going to drive to your shopping center and come in their car, so they would probably like an access right off the car park, and I would put it down, which is this in this southeasterly corner, somewhere on that wall. So it's in the middle of your parking lot. So they're opposite corners of the building. That's what I think I would recommend. It meets our needs, it meets your needs to satisfy people who come in cars.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Well, I believe in our last meeting, I did make a comment about, I visited the Bellini property, looked at the building, and the door right on Sebastopol Avenue just seemed right, and it just seemed to fit. So I'm conflicted because I do agree with Mr. Wilson that I do think that we do need the door on Sebastopol Avenue, but I'm still thinking about your customers too. The older population, disabled, and I want them to have access to this because I think they obviously will arrive in cars. But for one point I agree with the door, and maybe I liked what Mr. Kai said, that the second door would be up to them, but I just hope that possibly we could work that out. You've been very good about working on some things, so.
Well, live in the building. If you put the door in the opposite corner from the parking lot, then all those people are going to park there and they're not going to have access. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. You've got a completely suburban design with a downtown door. That's why I'm suggesting two doors. Otherwise, you know, how does it work?
Yeah, I think two doors. I mean, I would not support an outcome where we're